a passionate project for me, and it's exciting to get it across the finish line and get it out there and get feedback from other people. So I'm just going to go through my presentation here, talking a little bit about the book and some of the things. And if we have any questions, I'll answer those shortly. I'm just going to read through some of these things at a very high level, and then I'll expand on them. There's a lot of people involved in enriching data, and many roles come together as a team to make more data valuable. I'll talk about this in a minute, why I wrote the book, but one of my experiences has been there's not as much emphasis on data, the data teams in a lot of corporate structures as I think there should be. It's really good and something we want to strive for, to emphasize the application development world, getting applications out there, getting them in front of new customers. That's great. There's a lot more to it than just that. There has to be a little bit of this balance, just like I talked about with agile and stable. There has to be some balance there. There is value in enriching data from one application with additional data. One of the things that I've seen repeatedly, even if leadership doesn't approve building an enrichment platform, and I'll talk about why I use that term in a minute, it's going to be built anyway, and it's probably not going to be built as well as it could be done. One of the things that I've seen repeatedly is when you take a new perspective on your data, that will drive additional insight. And these are the insights that will help your company grow. And then finally, a relational database, especially Snowflake, is a powerful tool to use to enrich data. There's a lot of things out there, a lot of tools out there. You hear about Hadoops and other big data platforms and things of that nature. Each of them has their own strengths. They have their own weaknesses, et cetera. But the technologies that built on the relational type world using SQL, that tends to be really powerful. There's a lot of things that you can do with it that you can't do outside that. There's other use cases, and I talk about that in the book, where you want to use document databases, you want to use graph databases, you want to use these other things. But taking that data from that application, bringing it into some kind of enrichment platform, meshing it all together, relating all these various data pieces together is really powerful. Why did I write it? So I wrote the book because I found myself explaining to multiple organizations things that I thought were fundamental. I've worked with a lot of leaders in a lot of different organizations, and things that I just assumed everybody knew from attending talks like what Steve gives and at his Data Modeling Zone conference, the people that talk about best practices in data, there's a reason they're best practices. And I'd come back and talk to leadership, and it's like, well, we don't do those things. Well, why not? So I found myself just explaining this multiple times, and so I started writing as much as therapy for myself as anything, just kind of explaining all these things and telling the same story over and over again, and it turned into this book. So some of the things that are very important to me, separating application data and analytics data is critical to the success of both the applications platform and the enrichment platform. I've worked in environments where we had 3 years worth of data in our main application, and it was never shipped off anywhere else and done anything with. And as a DBA, when people are saying, hey, we've got these performance problems, you need to fix it. Well, the fix is reduce the amount of data in the application and take anything older than some arbitrary number, 30 days, 60 days, 3 months, something like that, put it in another platform so you can do analytics on. Oh, we don't want to do that. Well, that's the solution. That's how you solve this problem. The other thing, data scientists have to have production data. If not production specifically, then certainly production quality data. This production quality term is it's very important to me because people are like, well, you don't need to use production data for doing data science. I can see the argument. That being said, the data that we're looking at in stage development, et cetera, if we're going to create algorithms with it, it needs to be production quality. That means it needs to have the same type of use case patterns, the same type of users, the same type of things. If you have, an automated testing tool that you're testing your application with and it's generating a bunch of data, that's great. I'm going to use my machine learning stuff, look at the data, and the things I'm going to be able to predict are what is the test generation tool doing for the next test. I'm not going to be able to apply that machine learning algorithm to actual human interactions on a website using an application or things of that nature. And the other thing is, in quite a few organizations I've been in, I've been put on application development teams. Data professionals are not application developers. We're just not. There's a different skill set. And when I talk, my very first point is there are a lot of different skills that come together to enrich data and to make data more useful. And if you have everyone doing essentially the same thing, you don't have the kind of diversity of mindset for how you want to use your data and how you want to apply this to solving different problems. And that's going to limit your options. So how can this book help you? Data professionals should be recognized as providing separate and distinct value to an organization from application developers. That's a big deal. There's a lot of things that we can do with organizing data, retrieving data, performance and tuning and things of that nature that are going to provide value that are separate and distinct from what an application developer is going to do. The other thing is identifying the correct expertise to solve a problem will make your organization more successful. I talk about in the book, we talk at conferences and classes and things of this nature, all these best practices where you want to create a data dictionary, you want to apply that data dictionary and make sure that you use, you collect that information from the data dictionary and you use it. Well, in real life, you still need to do that. Having a data dictionary for your application and having that available for multiple people other than just, hey, this is the guy that he knows everything there is to know about this application. If you have questions, you need to talk to him. That's great. Well, now he's become a bottleneck and his knowledge is valuable to him and his team. But if we were to dare I say it, document that knowledge and make it available for more people could be doing things with that data separate from that individual. And that allows your whole ecosystem to grow. And having an application developer in the role of a data engineer is just as wrong as having a data engineer on an application development team. There's been a number of cases where, and I didn't tell all of my stories in the book, but I've seen things where I'd get a query or a view had been created by some application developers or even some data structures, and I'm like, that these are okay. That's one way to do it, but if you make these changes, things will be much better. Well, why are we going to do that? Now we got to put that on our backlog. Well, if I'd have been part of the team, if you'd have let me design it or have some of my team design it for you, then we would have these data structures that are performing much better than what you have right here. And that's going to be that's going to make us all as a team and as an organization grow better. And data professionals who studied, worked, researched, spent many years doing data work should be put on the right team. So I think I said enough about that. The book shows how these teams contribute to the success of the enterprise. So this is putting these teams together, using them for solving the right problems. There's an old joke: you can hammer a nail with a screwdriver. It can be done. You'll get it in there, but chances are your screwdriver will be messed up and the nail will not be as stable. Okay, so now the enrichment platform. I switched from using the term data warehouse because too many people in leadership would push back immediately. Anytime I would say, well, we need to build a data warehouse. Oh, we're not going to build a data warehouse. That's going to take too much time, too much effort, blah, 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 all this other kind of things. Okay, well, what do we need to do? How are we going to solve this problem? And so I started saying, well, if we were to take this data and transform it a little bit and put it in this thing called an enrichment platform and have access to systems using Python, R, et cetera, have access to that data and be able to do things, then we can enrich it and make more use for it. Hey, that's a great idea. Why don't we do that? Okay, cool. We're going to build an enrichment platform. So it's, an enrichment platform is going to be the place where your knowledge workers are actually doing most of the interesting stuff. And that's where they're going to be creating new value for your organization. An enrichment platform can be data vault, it can be a data warehouse, a collection of data marts, or an operational data store. I touch on each of those individually in the book. And this book is not meant to be an overview of Data Vault, an overview of the operational data stores or data warehouse technologies or any of those things. I just have a very, teaspoon touch on that these things need to be done when you're building an enrichment platform. They're part of this whole overall ecosystem for analytics. Your enrichment platform can be a database running on a machine under someone's desk. That's or personal cloud account. Not too many people are running machines under the desk anymore, but many years ago, that's one of the things that I used to do is I'd get a machine from IT, build a database on it, bring a bunch of data together and do some things and make it available for people, make that data available for people. And then eventually it would go to production. And it has to be stable. The enrichment platform has to be stable. The stability can certainly be incremental, and you can certainly build on things in kind of a stair-step fashion that I talk about in the book. When everything's changing constantly, that's going to make things much more complicated, and you're actually going to reduce the value out of it when everything is changing constantly. Knowledge workers have got a lot on their plate. They've got a lot of things that they're trying to do in order to solve the business problems at hand. And there has to be at least some stability for, hey, we did this. Okay, now we created this new data set. Okay, fine. Let's roll that in. We'll productionalize that process, make that another step in what we need to use, and then continue building on that. So stability is very important. This idea of the enrichment platform, this platform joins and integrates data from both within the enterprise and other data providers. I mentioned Snowflake again. The data sharing capabilities of Snowflake are great for this. That doesn't solve every problem. Data sharing from Snowflake doesn't solve every problem yet, but having feeds like from your shipping providers or maybe weather feeds or other things where you're bringing that data. You don't want to bring that data into an application just because that could potentially overwhelm your application's resources. But bringing this other data, this outside data into your enrichment platform, and then maybe making a subset of that available to your individual application platform, that allows you to enrich that data and make it more useful. And the other thing, so last couple things, enrichment platform should service both internal reporting and your knowledge workers. One thing that, again, discussions that I've had repeatedly, hey, we've got this BI team over here. They're creating all these BI reports. That's great. The data scientists are going to work with this other data set. Well, why? Why shouldn't your BI team and your analytics, your knowledge workers, they kind of work from the same central area of data? Then your business intelligence reports that you already have, if the data scientists are making recommendations for new things, you should be able to track that in your BI reports, and you don't have to make that many changes. You should be able to see the impact of that if they're both working from this same enrichment platform. And there really isn't a question of if you need to build an enrichment platform. It's only when, because an enrichment platform, as I mentioned, is going to be built one way or another. If you have a knowledge worker that you've tasked, or a team of knowledge workers that you've tasked with solving a problem, intrinsically, they're going to build an enrichment platform. They're going to bring a bunch of data together. They're going to put it in one thing. They're going to use a tool, and they're going to do some stuff with it. That's just the nature of analytics and how it works. And you can take advantage of that by formalizing that process, creating a formal platform, putting operational controls, having a data ops team manage that, making sure that you've got good quality, high quality data that's very consistent across all your various attributes and things. Then lots of people can use that. There can be a lot of value created from building this enrichment platform.